welcome back to season 2 of the ESPC Property Show, and with me, Megan, is...
It is me, Paul. I've forgotten who I've been, who I was. It's been so long.
I know, it does feel like ages. Our last official podcast episode went out on the 1st of June, and it is now August.
Yeah,
so
we have the decorators in.
Yes, we have. We're in the same studio, but it just looks a little bit different.
Yeah. We've upped our game. Our podcast game has been upped.
Yes, and we're here to stay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Unlike, as I said in my LinkedIn post, unlike some high-profile podcast duos, one with the name Megan, actually.
Yes, I know.
We've had our second series.
Yeah, I know, and we're really excited for this new series. But we thought we would kick off after we had some feedback from some listeners that they really wanted to have a bit more industry market updates.
Yeah, a bit of a flavour about what's been going on.
Yeah.
And we don't want this to dominate every episode, but I think if we can sort of touch the pulse of the property market as we go, we will. And we felt today was appropriate to do that.
Yeah, especially since we've been away for quite a few months now. You will have seen that in the podcast feed, we did have our ESPC live event.
Yeah.
So if you've been listening, you will have gotten a flavour of what the first 6 months of the year what was happening in the first 6 months of the year. But we thought we would just chat over that summer period in case you've been away on your holidays and you're thinking about getting back into looking into what's going on in the property market.
And we see that. I mean, there is a bit of seasonality, and I think since COVID, and we think it's a really good thing. People are taking the holidays, they're switching off, they're not obsessing about the property market. But now, children back at school.
Yeah. It's time to start looking
for property again. Yeah.
So Paul, I want to just kick off. If you could just give us a little summary then of the last few months.
Yeah, let's start with then a review of what we call it the summer market. And this is despite the 14th consecutive interest rate rise. The market's been pretty stable. It's held up very well. If we look at the last house price report, which is May to July, we saw a 0.4% increase in house values. It's been up a little, it's been down a little, but generally what we're seeing is a stable market in terms of house values, which is completely contrary to maybe what the headlines have been saying and what certainly the predictions late last year were saying. So that's encouraging. I think it's encouraging for buyers and sellers, and we'll come to that. The premium that's being paid is come down a little from last year. It's at 103.8% now. So again, to be expected, there's more choice out there. There's almost double the amount of property to choose from than there was this time last year. So again, more choice, good for first-time buyers. And I think we are returning to levels which are around 2019. We say this every time we do a house price report video. The frenzy of 2021 and 22 is behind us now, and we're levels of buying it and selling and listing are back to those sort of levels. But the medium time to sell, so time it takes from coming on the market to achieving a buyer for the property, sits at 19 days. Which is still really quick. It's really quick. If you look at the average across the UK, that is way quicker than you're going to find in the rest of the UK, where it's 2-3 months, even longer.
Yeah.
So just shows you we have a really healthy market. And one of the things we have been, we were just talking about this when is that we've not seen a crash, and we are putting together a piece which we'll have out in the next week or so, talking about the what's the difference between the market now and the market that we saw in 2008, 2009, when across the UK there was a crash. I have to say, even during that market, Edinburgh was tremendously resilient, and we didn't really see prices significantly impacted. But as a sort of very brief summary, there's been no credit crunch this time. You can still go out there and get a 100% mortgage. I mean, back in 2008, 2009, I remember it very well. You literally needed 25% deposit in most cases to get a mortgage, and it came from nowhere. So suddenly, you had your 5%, but you didn't have your extra 20, and that's why the market, in many ways, ground to a halt. So we've not seen that with the availability of mortgages out there. And the other thing is that as a result of what was reckless lending in 2008 and 2005, 2006, 2007, when people could have got 110% mortgages, that would have been nice. So you got your house and you got a mortgage for all your fixtures and fittings and your carpets. there was an argument that there was some reckless lending, that, checks weren't, people could self-certify on their income, etc., etc. Things since then have got a lot tighter. So I don't think we've seen that reckless lending since 2009. And as a consequence, we're not seeing the repossessions that we saw back then. Which, again, means there's not a flood of properties coming to the market, so we still have this balance between buyers and sellers. So lots of reasons why it's different from that market then, and lots of reasons why I believe we won't see a significant house price readjustment, certainly in the areas that we operate in. The other thing we should mention, and again we've spoken about this, is rent inflation. Edinburgh the highest in the UK in April this year. Shortage of property. I mean, we were talking to our lettings team earlier, and they were saying that as soon as anything comes on the market, there's 25, 30 people inquiring on that day. And by the end of the day, it's let. And so whilst that sustains, people are always going to look at buying a property as another alternative. And they should, it's weighing up the pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, what that means is for every rental property, there's then, 28, 29 unhoused
it
tenants.
Makes you wonder where people go. I mean, certainly, Shelter have spoken about the housing crisis. You hear it from Homes for Scotland, the body for new builders, and we'll probably be having both of them on the show. I think that'd be really good, just to talk about the housing market. It's clear we need to build more homes, and we need to act fast on that, really, in my view.
Yeah, and in terms of, I don't know if you want to explain a little bit about this, Paul. I've been chatting to people over the summer as well, like friends, family, and trying to explain this rising. We've seen this rise in average rent in Scotland, which is matching that, or coming in close second to London, despite having these rent caps in place. Do you want to talk about why that's
absolutely.
happened?
And again, just in the old days, if the housing market was for residential sales was doing well, the letting market was suffering, and vice versa. But we're seeing rising house prices and rising rents. Why are we seeing that? I think yes, there is a rent cap in place. I think what's happened there is there's been many a landlord that's exited from the market, who've decided that that's just one more piece of legislation too many. But what is clear is that when properties become vacant, and that gives you the opportunity then to review the rent, to ask what you want, because of the supply and demand imbalance, because many landlords have left the market, it means when a property comes available to rent, the landlord has been able to put the rent up. Now, not all landlords are doing this, and not all landlords are bad. Not all landlords are absolutely out of profiteer here. Many didn't put up rents during the COVID period. I know here at ESPC we had many a landlord that cut some slack for those people that were on furlough. So so that they made the concession on the rent. But yes, I think what we're seeing is when the opportunity arises and the property becomes vacant, we are seeing rents rise significantly. Because I think the landlord's sort of view on that is, well, this might be my only opportunity for a while, because once a tenant comes in, the cap is going to kick in. So I'll get the increase in now whilst I can. Yeah. And so in some ways, it's the law of the unintended consequences of these government decisions, I think, have impacted quite negatively on the market. I don't think it's working for landlords or tenants, unfortunately.
No, I agree. And I think, you're right. It's that what we're seeing in both markets, the rental and the residential purchasing market, that lack of supply is what's increasing.
I suppose the good thing is if there is and there is absolutely hope for first-time buyers out there. We passionately believe we'd like to see more first-time buyers on the ladder. But what we are seeing is there are 100% mortgages available for first-time buyers, so you don't need a deposit if you've been in a rented property and you've kept up with that rent. That can be seen as your credit worthiness, and again, you need to talk to a mortgage expert about that, but there are those mortgages available. We're also seeing a real rise in the amount of fixed price properties on the SPC, which is great, because the thing which plagued the market, as we know, is that poor old first-time buyers had to find the mortgage deposit and then had to find the premium, which is at 108% at one point last year, to successfully win the property at closing date, whereas now it's fixed price, which means that's my price, that's what I want for it. And we've even had some of our member firms come on here and say, well, it's a fixed price, but make an offer. So, there's that as well. So more choice, double the amount of properties for sale, so I think that's a good thing. And
speaking about first-time buyers, we've often referred to this kind of double deposit, that we've heard thrown around a lot, that first-time buyers, they need the deposit to get the mortgage, but they also need the bidding power of that offers over. So it's not necessarily that now they're going to get it. Then you're going to need less capital, less cash up front. It's just that they have to use that in a different way. Maybe less goes on the premium, more goes on the deposit.
Yeah, and hopefully a bit left over for carpets and curtains and things.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't say that flippantly, because I think, it's hard, and we all found it hard getting on that ladder. I'll be honest, I think it was easier back in my day and than it is these days. And I know you recently bought, and I think we need to find a way that we can get more people on the ladder. And I know as ESPC we want to talk to government about that and see if there were some great schemes the other year which I think helped, and we'd like to see reintroduction of some of those measures, because I think it's important that we have a first-time buyers market.
Yeah, and obviously another thing that you've already touched upon over the summer was the continuous rise in interest rates, which we won't go into too much because we've got an episode coming up with our mortgages team who will kind of explain that in a bit more depth. But we are starting to see some lenders reduce their rates, and inflation is now coming down.
Inflation is coming down. Wage inflation is still a concern. Bank of England said that, and I think if you read into Bank of England's last statement, I think really what they're saying is that they'll need to go harder for longer than maybe most of us anticipate or wish for. So I think we may see more rises to come. A lot of economists are talking about maybe a rise in September or October. I think they may take more of a wait-and-see approach as we go and feel our way into that, because it does hopefully look like we're over peak inflation, which would be good.
Yeah.
And I think when we had Debbie Hare on the show, and the first reason she said there's always a lag between you make an interest rate rise over here. It may be 9 months before the market really feels that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we're starting to see the drop in inflation. The measures the Bank of England took a good way back now.
Yeah, so I think that's just a nice little update. I don't know, Paul, if you've got anything else to add for...
I wish I had more good news.
I know.
As I say, anything else to add over and above that? I think, I'm not one for predictions, especially about the future. But I would say, I think the market remains stable. I think it feels like it's a fairer market this year. We had many meetings last year, and we spoke about it being an absolute seller's market. And it was great for sellers, not so easy for buyers. I think we have a more balanced and a more fairer market this year. And as I say, that's no bad thing. And I think our solicitor estate agents would vote any day for the market we have now over the market maybe we've had in the last year or two, because it has been frenzied, and that's been challenging. And even with resources, one of the reasons we have wage inflation is because there's a shortage of skills. There's and in the jobs market, and I think everyone has the limits to how much they can sustain in terms of workload. So, a nicer, slightly more calm market is no bad thing all around, really.
Yeah, and I know some sellers might be thinking, this house prices, but at the end of the day, most sellers are buyers.
Absolutely.
So you might not get it when you sell your house, but you'll feel it when you buy the next one.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, exactly.
And talk to the experts. I mean, our solicitor estate agents are offering on properties every single day, so they'll know what's being accepted. They'll know what they can offer. You can look at the prices online, but the 3 months out of date, registers of Scotland or even longer. It's 3 or 5 months. Our guys know what's happening on that day or the next day, so they're the people you need to be speaking to.
Yeah, and actually one more thing, do we have any data on any hotspots, any areas that are selling well?
I have to say Leaf has been a surprise climber. Summer hits, there's always a summer hit, isn't it? Leaf has done really well. Volumes are up significantly in terms of sales, prices are up. I think, as I said, I think it's to do with the trams. Personally, I think the access to amenities, and there's a lot going on in Leaf, as we know.
Yeah.
So that's been one of the surprise.
I know I've had quite a few people coming to visit, whether it be for the Fringe or just for the summer, and they have taken the tram down to the Ocean Terminal or just down to the shore, and they would never have done that otherwise. I think that's definitely...
And for full disclosure, neither of us live in Leaf, so we are not ramping Leaf. We're merely reporting the facts. The other thing we have seen, it's certainly calmed a little, but still lots of interest on ESPC.com in the outlying areas. When we look at our most viewed properties and where there's general activity, the Lothian's still very popular. East Lothian particularly, always some of our most viewed homes are in the East Lothian. In fact, 2 months on the run now, and both being stone cottages.
Yeah.
So maybe that's more about the dream. Maybe that's more about where we want to retire to rather than the property market. You know?
That's where people are being nosy about doing some manifesting.
Yeah, but if you want a tip, have a lovely coloured front door. It seems to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this has just been a nice little teaser to ease you into season 2.
We've got a whole host of new episodes coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. We've got garden design, our mortgages update, as we mentioned. We're going to be chatting about marital status and properties.
Yes.
Which should be a really interesting one. Yeah. We're also hopefully going to have Debbie back on to chat about the economy.
I love a chat about the economy, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to talk about lettings. We'll do an update on the house prices, house price report, market sentiment. We'll get some more experts in on that. And also, people liked our Buying Overseas episode. We did one on Spain, so we're going to do another. Yeah. And we've picked somewhere else.
Yes.
But we won't spoil us, shall we?
No, we won't, but it's further afield than
it's
Spain.
Warm. So we'll be chatting to those as well. And there'll be a few other surprise.
Yes. But we still have a few slots left, so if you want us to chat to somebody about anything to do with properties, whether it be interior design to surveying or anything in between, please get in touch with us on marketing@espc.com. And otherwise, I think we can chat to everybody next week.
Yeah, great. But can we just say thanks to everyone that listened to the first series. It was great, and we were delighted with the numbers. That's why we managed to afford our new sign. So thanks, guys, for supporting us. I hope you like Series 2 as much. We have had some really good feedback, so we've taken that on. The episode's going to be a little bit tighter. We're going to be filming all the episodes.
Yeah, so
you'll be... shirt now.
Yeah, you'll be able to watch every episode on our YouTube channel, so please hit subscribe on there to watch. Otherwise, subscribe wherever you're listening, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast provider. We will be there every Thursday till the end of the year. That's where our season 2 will run until.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. But thanks again, guys, and we will catch you real soon. See you later.
Bye. Bye-bye.